Most soldiers in the Army use the M4, and I know that they are changing it to where they have this new rifle by SIG that's going to be replacing the M4, but trust me, that is going to take a while. All right, you probably can expect to still use the M4 in most of your units for a good another 5-10 years maybe before you finally will get that new high-speed rifle. So I want to show you how to take apart and put back together the M4. What's up, my friends? Welcome to this video that I'm going to show you how to take apart an M4. Of course, I do not have an M4. I have an AR-15. So essentially it's the same, right? I mean, I can't do burst or auto, but the components are all the same. So I can use it to show you how to take it apart and put it back together. I'm going to show you how to do so at the basic level that soldiers are usually going to do so. You know, you're not going to be taking it apart 100% completely disassembled, but the level that you do take it apart for soldiers, that's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how to do so, how to take it apart, how to put it back together, because that is something you have to do in basic training. In basic training, you'll learn how to do it, but if you can kind of go in there with knowing what to expect, maybe it'll help you figure it out much quicker, whatever the case is. And then at your units, you'll need to know how to take it apart and put it back together, because when you go to the ranges, when you go to training, when you go to return it to the arms room, you need to probably clean it. And so you're going to need to take it apart in order to clean it. Now, I'm not using exact terminology mainly because, well, one, I don't know all of the terminology for every single part, but two, I want this to be able to be catered to individuals that are not familiar with the M4 at all and need to learn how to take it apart and put it back together. So I'm not using a lot of terminology for that reason, but yeah, sure, there is probably some parts that I don't remember the name of it anyways. So let's get into it, and let me show you how to take apart the M4 and put it back together. So the first and foremost thing you always do with any weapon is to make sure that it is clear. Now, regardless of if you are what you feel is 100% sure that there is no round, no ammo inside of it, make sure that it is clear just for the added incentive of the safety. So I make sure that there is no magazine inside of it, and then we're gonna actually physically make sure that there's not a round inside the chamber. So we simply just charge the charging handle to the rear. I can observe inside of it to make sure there is not a round inside of it stuck in there. Nothing fell out and went flying out of there, no rounds or anything. And we can let it go back forward, and I know now that this weapon is cleared. Now, one thing I will not be taking apart on this weapon, because we're going to take it apart to the basic level of what you usually do for your average soldier in the Army that is not an armorer, not someone that deals with maintenance of weapons. We're going to take it apart to that basic level, but the one thing I'm not going to take apart, and you may hate me for it, but I don't want to take apart the handguard. The handguard is a pain in the ass, especially with this one that I have here with my rail system and everything. This thing fits in there pretty snug, and it was a pain to get this thing on here for whatever reason. But to take it apart, I'll show you how you would take it apart, but I'm not gonna take it apart because it's super hard. All you have is you have this little ring right here that you have to apply a lot of pressure to pull it down, and it comes off in two pieces. There's a lip up here that it kind of fits inside of, so once you do get it free from this end of it, from the bottom side of it, you can pull it up and then pull it out of the lip and get both sides off, and then to put it back together, just simply push it into the lip up here and then pull down like a mofo on this ring to get it back inside. It is kind of still a pain in the ass on the actual M4, maybe not as big of a pain in the ass as it is on mine, but nonetheless, it is a pain in the ass, and so I don't want to deal with it, so I'm sorry, but I am not going to take apart the handguards up here. But normally, you might take apart the handguards for cleaning of the weapon. So more important stuff is we want to remove the upper receiver from the lower receiver so we can get to some of the parts inside of here. In order to do so, we've got two pins that are right down here. Let me give you a little bit closer of a view here on the camera. So you can see right over here is one pin for the back of it, and then the front pin up over here. So we're gonna apply some pressure to these pins to make them pop out on the opposite side, which is right over, can't see, right over here, and then right over here. We gotta get these pins to pop up. So we can usually do this with our hand. Sometimes for certain weapons, they're maybe a little bit more dirtier, a little bit more grimy from the field. You might have to use an object to be able to press on it, but be careful not to damage it. But I can simply just push on that pin. The pin has depressed into it. And now on the opposite side, I can grab a hold of this guy and be able to pull it out. And you can kind of see that now it's pulled out, and now it kind of detaches from there. And now I can remove the upper receiver by doing the same thing, pressing it on this pin. This one sometimes has a little bit more tension on it. And then from this side, pull out the pin, and now they have detached. So now we have the upper receiver and the lower receiver detached. So we'll put the lower receiver off to the side for right now. We'll start off with some stuff from the upper receiver. Typically, you don't want to take your sights off because that messes up your zero in most cases. So I won't be taking off my sights, and I don't really need to in the first place, but we do want to take out the bolt carrier. So here we have the charging handle. We got a little guy right here that we can be able to press in on to be able to pull back on the charging handle. So we simply use that guy to pull it, and it kind of releases, and you can simply just slide both of them out. Now it will get to a point where it stops because there's a little bit of a lip that the charging handle is catching onto. So if you want, you can just simply pull the bolt carrier all the way out and then kind of feel for that lip, and it drops down and you pull out the charging handle. So now we can set off to the side our upper receiver. Now we have a charging handle. So nothing else has to be done with the charging handle, but we do have our bolt here. So the first thing we're gonna have to remove from our bolt is this little cottering pin that's right inside of here. In some cases, you can simply grab it with your fingers if you can catch onto it. If not, you might have to grab some needle nose pliers, maybe a Gerber, maybe a little ink pen, something that you can get inside of there to pull up on it. And depending on how much carbon is in there, how dirty it is, or whatever, maybe a little bit of a challenge, or maybe if it's a pretty well-used rifle, it might be a little bit of a challenge, but otherwise, sometimes you can simply grab it with your fingers after a little bit of work. If not, then you might want to grab something like a pen or something to be able to pull it out with. Mine took a little bit of work, but I eventually grabbed a hold of it. So now you kind of see it's kind of lifting up a little bit. Now I can simply pull this cottering pin out. Very small little piece. You don't want to lose. Still can't probably see it very well. There you go. Small little cottering pin. Don't want to lose this guy. All right, so we're gonna set this off to the side. Now that cottering pin was holding in the firing pin inside of here. Right there, you can kind of see a little bit of silver showing. That is our firing pin. And so we're gonna be able to pull that guy out. All we have to do, really an easy way to do so, is press in on this right here. That kind of pushes the firing pin forward a little bit, as you see. Now I can easily grab the firing pin and just simply pull it on out. So pull the firing pin on out of there. Mine is a bit dirty because I have not cleaned my weapon since the last time I fired my rifle. Not a big deal though. Now that firing pin is out of there, we can get this little guy, this little bolt piece right here that is just below the gas tube. So we'll just turn it sideways. All you gotta do, because normally it's gonna be this way because there's a hole inside there that the firing pin went inside of. So if you turn it sideways, just like that, this will make it to where it'll clear the gas tube. Otherwise, you won't be able to get it past the gas tube. So now you can grab a hold of it. That kind of pops up and I can just pull it straight on out. So that guy can go off to the side. Now this guy will just pull straight on out the back here. Now we've got him out. Now everything is taken apart from our bolt. With our lower receiver, you could take apart the whole trigger assembly and everything like that, but your average soldier is not going to be doing that stuff. Maybe your armor, maybe some other individuals that do handle a little bit more advanced kind of maintenance on weapons will do that. For the most part, your average soldier, if they take apart the trigger assembly, your armor is going to be pretty pissed off at you, so you don't do so. But sometimes is what you will do to be able to clean inside of there is maybe move the selector switch from safe over to semi. You can pull the trigger, pops this guy up right here. So this guy popped up now, and now I can clean all around inside the little grooves and inside of here, all inside the trigger assembly, and then just simply push it back down. It'll lock back into place, and now it's back down. Put the weapon back on safe. Right, even though it really doesn't matter at this point because it's taken apart, but still, nonetheless, take it apart or don't take this apart, but putting that back on safe is good practice still. The only thing you are going to take apart is going to be right inside of here. There's a buffer spring inside of this that does come out. There's a small little notch that you can probably maybe see right there that's keeping this buffer spring from being able to pop out, all right? So we can apply pressure to that, probably not with a finger or anything. We probably have to use an object. Maybe we can use maybe the charging handle probably works pretty good, right? We can press in on that pin that's right there and get it to pop out. It is gonna have some tension on it, so it's gonna come forward, but it's probably gonna hit this trigger mechanism right here and stop anyways, so that way it won't go flying across the room. So we gotta apply some pressure, get it to kind of pop out. Once it does, we can now grab a hold of it and pull it out the rest of the way. The spring might get caught on that little groove that's right there, so you gotta kind of watch out for that. So this comes apart just like this. Now I can clean the spring and everything else associated with that. And for the most part, that's it. That's all you will usually take apart for your normal maintenance or cleaning on a M4, or simply for basic training purposes to learn how to take it apart and put it back together. So let's go ahead and go through and put it back together, which essentially is just the reverse order, but I'm sure for some people, it helps to actually see me put it back together. So we're gonna put it back together. We can just start off simply with the buffer spring, all right? So we place this guy back inside of the spring. We feed this back inside of the buttstock. It's going to get to a point here where it does have some tension on it, so you do have to give a little bit more pressure to be able to get it all the way in and kind of hold it so we can kind of try to keep it from flying back out. And if we push it in there far enough, it does grab back onto that little pin right there and keep it locked into place. So then let's put back together our bolt carrier and assembly, all that kind of fun stuff. We will start off with this little guy right here. So this guy's gonna go in first. All right, we got a little hole on the top. That is where this guy is gonna go back inside of, so that when we do get to that part, we wanna make sure that this hole here on the top is actually facing up to this hole over here, so we can actually place it into its right spot. So we simply place this right into there and then look inside of here to line up the hole. And this guy is gonna go back inside of said hole. Now, the other thing we will have to do a little bit is when we do place it inside, we wanna make sure to turn it so that this hole is going to be the right way, so that way the firing pin will go inside of that hole. All right, so I'm gonna place this still sideways because otherwise it's gonna get in the way of the gas tube. So we'll place it in there. We have to probably wiggle it around a little bit, make sure that the hole lines up. All right, so it goes back inside. Now I want to turn this guy. So this guy is going to turn now this way, which kind of keeps it from falling out, I guess, sort of in a way, because it hits the gas tube, but the firing pin is gonna need to go inside that hole. So then we take this piece and we pull it to the rear. That way it moves this guy back. Now we can be able to place our firing pin from the underside. And I think you can probably do it from the upper side too, really doesn't really matter, but place it inside of there, right? Just like this, push it in, it should go inside of the hole that's inside of that little pin right there. And now our firing pin is in there nice and secure, sort of, until we put the cottering pin in. Once we put the cottering pin in, that'll really make it secure. That's what keeps the firing pin from falling out in the first place. So make sure that guy goes in all the way. Firing pin is flush all the way inside of there, that way it doesn't stick out, otherwise it'll probably get caught inside of your upper receiver. So that is in all the way. Now the firing pin can't fall out, none of that fun stuff. Now we need to place this guy back inside of the upper receiver. That can sometimes be a little bit tricky if it's your first time doing so, but after you've done it several times, it gets pretty easy to do. But our gas tube needs to be facing towards the front of the barrel. So it'll go in this way. So I have my upper receiver here. Here's the front of my barrel over towards this way, right? So we got that guy. So when we do so, we need to put in the charging handle first. The charging handle, start off, we got that little notch that I talked about right here, and it's gonna feed into the rails because there is actually two sections to this. All right, there's the larger area here where this guy is gonna go inside of, and then an upper area right up here where our charging handle is gonna go inside of. So if I simply just kind of drag it across the top as it's kind of going in, I can kind of feel it pop in, right? So it grabs a hold of that groove and goes inside there. All right, so now I got my charging handle in. I don't want to put it in all the way, right? It doesn't need to go all the way in because then I can't get my bolt carrier inside of. So I have it out a little ways. Take this guy, which is going to feed into this little rail piece of that charging handle. So the gas tube goes inside of there. Once I kind of got it, it kind of lines up together with each other. I can place both of them in just like that, and it kind of slides in, locks into place. Now we have our upper receiver back together. So now we need to reattach our lower receiver and upper receiver. So it's just reverse. We gotta get these pins here to line up with these holes on the upper receiver to place them back in. So we just line them up. There, right there. So that one goes in. That one sometimes takes a little bit more of kind of make sure it gets lined up properly, but this guy is pretty easy. Once you just close it down, it's automatically gonna line up basically where you need to go. So then on this pin over here, I just press in on it, pops it back into place. It's good. Doesn't come apart, we're good to go. Typically, after you have taken apart a weapon and put it back together, you would run a functions check. I am not gonna run into the process of how to do a functions check in this video, maybe in a future video, maybe kind of a thing, but for the most part, I can just simply maybe charge it. It charges, it's good to go, right? The selector switch moves, right? I can do that, right? I won't run through a functions check in this video, but typically you would do a functions check on the weapon after putting it back together. There you have it. That is how you take it apart, and that is how you put it back together, so that way you are successful, hopefully in basic training at your unit, whatever the case is. But like I said, you're gonna get plenty of opportunities to probably practice with it at basic training, because you're gonna have to do it here and there. You're gonna have a class on it, all of that stuff. So hopefully this will help you to be a little bit better at doing so. So hopefully that was helpful to you. If so, make sure to hit that thumbs up for me. Comment down below. I'd like to hear your thoughts as far as, what is your level of experience with taking apart an AR or an M4 or whatever the case is, taking apart weapons maybe in general. And, what are your concerns? Are you concerned about this in basic training or at your unit with being able to take it apart and put it back together? Hopefully not. Hopefully this will help you ease a little bit of the stress of seeing how to do it, but you're going to get lots of practice. But I want to hear from you guys down in the comment section down below. Check out the description box to see all sorts of links, affiliate ones, social media, all that stuff. Check out this video. It'd be right here. You can check out this video right here if you want to learn more about the United States Army from yours truly. Thanks for watching. I'm Christopher Chaos. I'll see you next time. See ya.